Hey everyone, hope you're having an amazing day. It's Code Karen. Welcome to r/Am I the A-Hole, where we have 3 incredible stories. If you're new to this channel, a sub would be great. Let's jump to the stories. Our first story is, am I the a-hole for telling my adopted sister that my parents don't actually love her? Throw away because my friends and family know my actual Reddit account. I am aware how awful the title sounds, but you have to know my side of the story before making any judgment. I'm currently 16 and am living with my parents and sister. My parents officially adopted her 2 years ago because her mother passed away, and my mother promised her that she's going to take care of her daughter. They had problems adopting her because some of her actual family wanted to keep her, plus my parents had income problems for a while, but 2 years ago, they managed to adopt her. I won't go into much detail about this as it's irrelevant. Ever since they adopted her, my life got so much worse. My parents give me no attention, as all the attention is given to my smaller sister. Not only that, but I'm also supposed to help my parents around the house because they need to spend as much time as possible with her. And of course, whenever my sister has any problems and my parents aren't around, I am supposed to help her, or I will get punished. Also, everything that I have must be shared with her, except the room and my phone. I got sick of this. 2 years passed and nothing changed at all. 3 days ago, my sister came into my room without knocking while I was talking to my friends about her, and she heard me. I told my friends that the only reason my parents adopted my sister was because they were close with her mother, and then when she asked me if my parents actually love her, I told her no. Ever since that day, she stopped talking to everyone and is locking herself in the room and crying. The good thing is that she is not telling my parents why she's upset, but I think that they will eventually find out. I told my friends about it, and they say I am the only one in the wrong here and should seriously consider apologizing. I, however, don't think I should, and if my parents find out, I will be punished really bad because only she matters to them. Am I the a-hole? Our second story is, am I the a-hole for shouting at my ex in front of my daughters? I, 37 male, have 3 girls, 8, 10, and 12. Their mother walked out on us for another man when our youngest was around 4. My ex still stays in contact though, and pays child support. A few weeks ago while doing laundry, I saw red spots on my oldest's underwear. I asked her if she knew about it, and she cried and told me she tried to call her mom, but my ex didn't call back. She'd been stuffing toilet paper in her underwear, hoping that would work. I explained to her that periods are nothing to be ashamed of, and found some great resources online for us to review together. I took her to the store to pick out brands of feminine products she wanted to use. She picked Playtex Sport because she's a gymnast. After we were done, I decided I should do the same with my other 2. My 12-year-old volunteered to be part of preparing them, and we made a whole night of it. It was wonderful, and I learned a lot. I even learned what a menstrual cup is, and how they benefit the environment. The other day, my ex called back. I'll usually arrange a video chat and leave the room so they can have some alone time, and when they're done chatting, I'll come back in to talk. Boring co-parenting stuff like school, bills, etc. This last time, my ex was furious with me for talking about periods with the girls. She shouted at me that I was sick and perverted. Why didn't I call her myself if I knew it was so urgent? I could have called one of their grandmas/aunts, but my mom has dementia, while her mom and sisters call me a loser because I teach kindergarten, so I'm not fond of them. My ex told me I was being immature and should have just toughed it out for the girls. This really upset me, so I shouted back that maybe if she wasn't such a deadbeat and answered her darn phone once in a while, she could have handled this. I brought up everything she does that hurts them. She hasn't been to a single soccer game, piano recital, or gymnastics meet in 2 years. Every other weekend when they come home from her house, they go straight to their rooms, only to emerge hours later asking me why she loves her new husband more than them, and what did they do to make her leave. My ex responded by saying I should tell them it's not their fault. I couldn't satisfy her, and I screamed F you, and she just smirked and pointed behind me, saying, "Look what you did." When I turned around, my 8-year-old and 10-year-old were standing in the doorway crying. It broke my heart. I never shout, so I know I scared them. My 12-year-old stormed in and started screaming at her mom, and while I appreciate her sticking up for me, this is not a battle I want her fighting. My ex hung up before I could fully de-escalate the situation, and let's just say, the girls have been given free reign of the ice cream and limitless hours of video games because I feel so bad. I even watched all the Twilight movies with them, so don't say I don't love them. But in this instance, am I the a-hole for shouting? Our last story is, am I the a-hole for demanding my sister pay rent for living at home with my parents and refusing to pay my rent until she does? Background: I graduated from college 4 years ago and live at home with my parents. My sister graduated 2 years ago and also lives with my parents. We both got jobs pretty much straight out of college. I pay my parents $800 a month in rent since my first paycheck. This is a throwaway and it's still fresh, and I'm really emotionally charged right now. Last night, my parents were talking loudly about their financial problems in the living room. I overheard and I offered to help by paying more in rent. I was thinking $900 to $1,000, since it covers utilities, phone, and internet. My parents were grateful. Now, prior to this, I never asked how much my sister pays in rent. I always figured my parents charged just the same. So absentmindedly, I asked a follow-up question. Me: how much is my sister paying for rent? My mom: nothing. A long pause. Me: what do you mean she doesn't pay rent? My dad, visibly angry: your sister doesn't pay an effing thing. My dad explained how my sister recently bought a brand new car and hasn't paid insurance on it, so my dad had to pay for it. She doesn't pay rent. She doesn't pay utilities or phone or anything. So for the past 2 years, she's been living rent-free while I've been paying my parents. So later that night, we had a family sit-down talk. My sister didn't want to pay rent, especially at how much I was paying. She offered $100. My parents suggested she pay $300. I pay $800, which my sister and I both rejected. The conversation ended with this: F you, I'm trying to live my life. These were her exact words, which angered me the F off to holy Hades. So my sister storms off to her room, and it's now me, my parents, in the living room. I'm extremely upset at this, because it's massively unfair. My mom is upset that everyone's angry at each other, and my dad's angry my sister won't pay rent, and she won't move out, and both my parents don't want the police involved. So, I say my part before leaving. Me: I'm not going to pay any more rent until she does. It's only fair, right? And if I do pay rent, I pay whatever she's paying. My mom: what if she pays $300 and you pay $800? Me: no! My mom: but we really need the money. Me: that's too bad. I get up and go off to my room. So this morning, my dad comes in to tell me that I'm an a-hole for not paying rent. That I should pay rent because it's the right thing to do and all this stuff. I'm like, what the heck? Make my sister pay rent. My mom, who's listening in: you've seen her. She won't listen to us. Me: well, that's too bad. My mom, really angry: well, we wouldn't have this problem if you didn't try to make your sister pay rent. That was the last straw that blew it for me. I slammed the door on my parents. As I'm typing this, my parents are in the living room discussing how both their children are rotten, and stuff was better back in the home country, back in their day, when kids listened to their parents. Like, WTF? Am I the a-hole for standing up for myself? Wow, there's a lot to unpack in this last story. What do you think? Comment below.